This is QiQ, the question in question. Brought to you by TherapyBites Art Lab. Here to take a bite out of modern-day pseudo-psychological psycho-malarkey. Now entering the Art Lab studio, today's T-Ballers, a collection of fellow strugglers, confronting personal challenges, navigating precarious relationships, and tackling trauma. Humans like each of us, juggling difficult human emotions, each here with unique life experiences, lived stories, and questions we'll bite into that just might help you too. And now, entering the Art Lab studio for the 9,880th time is the host of TherapyBites QiQ, Doc Heath.
Guys, I'm sorry. You didn't hear any of that, did you? We're getting the hang of this sound thing. We have lots of questions here that we're going to ask you guys today. Actually, we're just going to give the answers. And what you guys do is put the proper format, put it into a question. And what you're really doing is trying to guess what someone just like you asked. And we're just here to provide psychologically nutritious information, and I want to thank William for pointing that out. Gosh, I would have went on all night. I would never have known that. So kudos for William there. And my team's listening. Send William here a couple hundred Psycoins that he can spend in the TherapyBite store just for being helpful. 200 Psycoins. You can get some cool merchandise at our Shopify store. Let's go to the board. And as always, we have Couch Crumbs questions. Creature feature. A lot of cool psychological concepts there. Social media smackdown. I actually get on social media and have debates with folks. Fresh from the Therapy Couch. That's some real life stories you can learn from others. Couch Crumbs, which is our newsletter, and Nero, otherwise known as Psych Secrets. And this question comes from Creature feature. Here is the answer. The answer is, this little critter represents a cognitive distortion that leads to the behavior of going to great lengths to not confront difficult situations, such as finding ways to run away or otherwise not experience difficult events, difficult situations, difficult circumstances. difficult emotions. It's the run, force, run distorted thought in your brain that says get away. And the timer is, of course, running here. And we typically like to give about 60 seconds. But if you know the proper question to that answer, just pop it in the chat. You know, one of the worst things that you can do for your mental health is fall prey to this little critter. And if you know what it is, we only have about 45 seconds left to go. But I think once I tell you what it is, it'll make perfect sense. Actually, the debate that I am currently in on Twitter, and I need to catch up. I've had a really busy day. We had I think it was 9 patient sessions today. And man, that is a wonderful guess, Sir William. That's not it. That's a wonderful guess. So some of you others here, see if you could guess that. And by the way, if you aren't here for the live show, you can catch all this in replays. And the answer is actually the avoidance gnat. The avoidance gnat. And yes, the avoidance gnat leads to some underthinking there. And but it's the avoidance gnat. By the way, a gray herring. What is a gray herring? We label that after a logical fallacy known as a red herring, because a gray herring clouds your mind from identifying what is going on in your own mind. And avoidance can be disguised in many ways. But yes, this little critter represents a cognitive distortion that, well, it encourages it to avoid. And let's go back to the board here. And the next answer is from Couch Crumbs Quotes. Couch Crumbs Quotes. And we'll come to the big screen here. And this quote teaches how thoughts engineer both emotion and behavior. This quote teaches how thoughts engineer both emotion and behavior. And going back to the debates I was talking about, and as I said, I know I've got to catch up. If some of you folks are lurking, I'm in the debate with. Hey, I appreciate the debate. I think it's very educational. I think that we should have a free marketplace of ideas. I don't think that we should suppress what others have to say. I don't think that it's healthy to suppress others' opinions. I also don't think it's healthy to make fun of other people's opinions. Just a tip for when I get back on the Twitter debate there with you, and I may not make it there till this weekend. Tomorrow looks to be a very busy day also, and I have some reports to do, not the least of which is a Rorschach that I have to get done. But this is part of the debate on there, and one of the actually, I think their credential, they call themselves a doctor, said the most alarming thing, that thoughts do not engineer behavior, that behavior does not come from thoughts. And I just don't know what to say about that. That is absolutely, positively false. And I don't know where they think that behavior comes from, unless they're kind of going back to some B.F. Skinner, who believed that we didn't really have any power control over our lives, and it was all subject to genetic engineering and being raised by who we were raised by. But if you take that too far, you'll have to say that if someone commits a crime, then they're not responsible for it. But the courts do not believe that. The court would say, "Ooh, wow, look at this. This is super impressive." Here I am chattering on, and William got it absolutely right. It is, we first engineer our thoughts, and our thoughts engineer our lives. You're so close, we're going to give it to you, and that is 600 Psycoins compared with the other 200, which is 800 for the day. And I'm going to type in here, William just earned 800 Psycoins. And let's make it common language, just banked 800 Psycoins, and we'll make sure that William gets those. And by the way, you can save those up, because some things on the store, do cost more than that, but you could, I think there's all kinds of things there, but eventually you can get a mug or a t-shirt or a cap or something like that. All right, let's be back right after this.
You are a fellow human struggling with difficult emotions, a fracturing relationship, parenting problem, mental health difficulty, have a psychotherapy from hell story to tell, or a challenging life experience question, and would like to share your story by stepping up to bat as a T-baller. Either register by texting QiQ to 1-870-686-4196 and join our Therapy Bites community, or send a postcard with your name, address, phone number, email address, and age to the address on the screen. Therapy Bites, QiQ, P.O. Box 1391, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72403, 1391.
And we are back. Okay, thank you for sticking with us. And again, thanks for any of you guys that reach out and tell us something we could do better. We're all about that. We're not sensitive about criticism. We love criticism. We view criticism as information. By the way, try that out in your relationship. The next debate you're in with somebody, instead of taking it personally, just see it as information. I have people call me all kinds of things. I have people say that you don't have the credentials to do what you do, which is really kind of weird because I have a dual doctorate in this stuff. And others say that you've not done it long enough. And gosh, I've done it. I was a case did case management back in the early 80s in 1984. But what people tell you, that is just information, and you can view it that way. Let's go back to the board and see what comes up next. And this question is going to come from Social Media Smackdown, of all things. And this is actually what our debate is about. And this is for 400 Psycoins. And for 400 Psycoins, this is a psychotherapy technique. We're about to canoodle your noodle here, throw your curveball. This is a psychotherapy technique. It is also can be seen as a form of mindfulness used with anxiety and with good effect, I think. And re-experiencing, that comes with PTSD. One of the cardinal symptoms of PTSD is re-experiencing. You might call it flashbacks, but clinically it's called re-experiencing. But, big but here, and this was my point in my debate, this can also be misused as just another way of avoiding. Remember the avoidance NAT we talked about earlier? What's NAT stand for? Negative automatic thought. It is a type of a cognitive distortion. And that's the answer. This is a psychotherapy technique, a form of mindfulness, if you look at it properly, which can be used successfully. I believe in it. Heather, one of my clinician, who's a licensed clinician, by the way, Heather, she talks about this all the time. I'm into it. I support it. But I do not support use of therapy techniques for avoiding. And yes, even therapy techniques can be used as avoidance. And I'm telling you what, when I started talking about that on Twitter the other day on this account that is anti-free speech, I mean, unless you tell them what they want to hear, then they're all in favor of it. And if they're in favor of their own free speech, they're just not in favor of other people's free speech that, I don't know, make the mistake of disagreeing with them. And this was the point of disagreement because this is a psychotherapy technique, a form of mindfulness used with anxiety and re-experiencing, which can also be misused as an avoidance strategy, which really keeps problems going in life. What you run from tends to chase you. And you can avoid yourself in your life and avoid your life right off a cliff. Avoidance doesn't work in relationships. It doesn't work in trauma treatment. It doesn't work in treating the thoughts, the distortions that engineer anxiety. And the question is, since we don't have one on, here we have somebody, what is meditation? Hey, that is so close. I think, and we could have a debate about this, but this actually just came to me about this technique called, what is it? Drum roll, please. Grounding. And the way it was presented on Twitter by another lady who says she's a licensed clinician, she presented it as if you're having a difficult emotion to basically avoid it by using grounding. If you want to do that, man, lady, whoever, knock yourself out. If you're a clinician and you can get people to pay you money to help them avoid, well, I don't know. I couldn't sleep at night if I did that. I just think that's poor clinical treatment. if I'm teaching somebody a technique, I don't teach them techniques to go and use against a spouse, to go and use against a child. I'm not here to teach people how to be sneakier psychologically. And I'm also not here to teach people how to do things, even if it's one of my techniques, to avoid. Like I teach hypnosis, but not to avoid difficult emotions. That's not the purpose. And grounding, the purpose is not to avoid difficult emotions. It is to put you in a space where you could, in a healthy way, confront it with healthy thinking. And that is the only healthy way. And let's go back to the board here. And this comes from fresh from the therapy couch. Fresh from the therapy couch. And it is for 600 Psycoins. Gosh, I don't have my camera up on that slide, do I? I've got to fix that. This is often one of the most problematic skills in a relationship. It is a skill that is actually engineered to be messy. Imagine that. A skill in a relationship which is actually meant to be messy. I know it's another curveball. I do love my curveballs. This is from the T-ball team, by the way. It stands for TherapyBites Art Lab. And what does ART stand for? It stands for accurate, realistic thinking. You community members know that. Lab stands for life affirming beliefs. And we research all this stuff in the Art Lab, the Art Lab studio. This is the Art Lab library. And the Art Lab studio is about 30 yards that way. That's where we do all our podcast recording. And by the way, if you're not signed up to follow the YouTube channel, do that for us. We like creating quality material, and if there's a way that we could make it better, again, we always look forward to hearing that. But for 600 Psycoins, this is often one of the most problematic skills in a relationship. It's a skill that is actually engineered to be messy. Selective hearing. Yeah, that is definitely engineered to be messy. You know, really, in a relationship, we hear most everything. That the thing is how we respond to it. You notice, I think it's now that's funny. We have a sense of humor this evening, but I would agree. I'm one of those guys, you know. But it's how we decide to hear things. It's not. It should be lost on us that we have eyelids but not earlids. We can close our eyes but not our ears. You have to stick your fingers in it, which would just be rude. But what is communication? What is communication? Imagine that. Communication is engineered to be messy so that we have to work at it, so that in doing so, we can cultivate relationships to a deeper level. Let's go back to the board. And this comes from Couch Crumbs newsletter. And it is for 200 Psycoins. This is the author, don't you love authors, who ghostwrites the Couch Crumbs column known as Critter Corner. And we have about 60 seconds, and we'll talk about that. If you're not signed up for our newsletter, all you have to do is send your... and that response was, I think that was for the last question. I'm sorry, the last answer, but it was mind reading. If you can do that, go to Tunica. You can win lots of money. I've never met anyone that can mind read. Moreover, I've not met anybody who can body read. Forget about all the social media psychomalarkey about body language. It doesn't exist. You'll guess wrong. It's a type 1 error. You'll think there's an effect. There's not an effect. If body language even was all it's cracked up to be, we would not need American Sign Language. We would tell deaf people, just learn body language. And as I said before, this is the body language that means I want a taco. But no, it's not. You have to ask me, hey, Doc Keith, you want a taco? I really do want a taco because I've been fasting for a day and a half and I'm kind of hungry. But I'm going to keep it up to tomorrow at noon because it's good for me. And the question is, who are Sarah and Heather? Who are Sarah and Heather? And they team up and do our Critter Corner, where we teach about all our psychological mechanisms and techniques there. And if you're not signed up, it's very easy. Just text 1-870-686-4196 and put your email address in there. It's free. How many things in life are free? but this is. And we just do it to help out. We just do it because there's so much misinformation on social media. Be real careful getting your psychological information from social media. That's like going to social media for brain surgery. It's not a good idea.
If you plan on being in the local area of your podcast player app and would like complimentary tickets to the TherapyBites QiQ Art Lab studio audience, please search TherapyBites on your device and just smash that subscribe button. Your complimentary ticket grants you access to alerts so you'll never miss a show.
And finally, to wrap up the evening, and we will be back next Tuesday at 7 o'clock, A.R.T. Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, we love A.R.T. Me and a buddy of mine designed A.R.T. Phil Gormley is in Great Britain and a great artist. Shout out to Phil. And all the artwork you see, that's Phil. I mean, except for some of the little memojis. Somebody else did that. Phil stays pretty busy. But the couch, the Psy guy, who's the blue guy with the glasses, which, hey, here's something that might show up in another show. But Psy guy, blue Psy guy with glasses on to help him see better, is our little joke that the field of psychology could use some vision repair. As evidenced by this debate I'm in. They bless their heart, they're just not seeing things clearly. I'm trying to help. I don't know. A lot of hard-headed people. And very, very disrespectful sometimes, too. But that's okay. I'm a big boy. Let's go back to the board. Last question here, our last answer of the evening. It is from Psych Secrets for 800 Psy coins. This is the neurological process that manufactures both emotion and behavior. I actually gave it away earlier. It's part of the debate that I was in. This is the neurological process that creates both emotion and behavior. And what might that be? If you can look at it, you have emotion and behavior. I'm trying to stay on screen here. And both of those are created by the same thing. What might that be? We've got about 35 seconds to go. And hey, if you don't know, then you can give yourself a break, because a real-life PhD just a day or two ago got this wrong in the middle of a debate with me. And I invited them to come on the podcast and have the debate live on camera. And you know how many were chomping at the bits to debate me live on camera? Absolutely zero. Hey, but if you're listening, the offer's still open. We'll put a camera in your face. You can turn on your mic. We'll do it live if you want. We'll record it if you want. I won't cut. We'll let you have your full say, because I believe that is just courteous. I'll have mine. Hopefully you'll bring up some logical points. But these folks, really, they never do that. What they devolve into, you can tell someone has a weak point in a debate when they start making fun of you. In other words, since they don't have a point, they neglect the point and attack the person. And if someone's attacking you in a debate, it just means that they don't have a point, because you're not the point. The point is the point. And if they had a point, they would stay on point. Okay, what is the question? What is cognition, thoughts, beliefs, knowing, or knowledge? It is our thoughts which manufacture both emotion and behavior. If you want to change your behavior, change your thinking. If you want to change your emotions, change your thinking. And that's all the time we have for this evening. Come back and catch us next time. We really appreciate everybody joining us.
Premier accommodations for our T-Ball contributors provided electronically by the luxurious Art Lab Studio, overlooking the steaming cesspool of pseudo-psychological social media psychomalarkey, and located in cyberspace on your favorite podcast hosting platform, where we invite you to the most psychomalogically thrilling podcast in town, while you feast on our award-winning Psychologically-Nutritious buffet of TherapyBites cuisine, conscientiously cooked up by your hard-working T-Ball team chefs. Next time on Therapy Bites Art Lab QiQ, Doc Keith and T-Ball callers face off against steaming piles of pseudo-psychological psycho-malarkey directly from your favorite social media platforms, or perhaps from the psychotherapy couch of a pill-pushing, emotion-demonizing, bobble-headed, woo-woo clinician who fed their kooky Kool-Aid to you. This is Art Potto speaking. Therapy Bites QiQ is a Dr. I'm a Floyd Knot production. Distributed by the Therapy Bites Art Lab Podcast.